Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. As mentioned, as you all know, Mayor Glazer is going to address you all in regards to the current garbage litigation that's taking place in supplemental services. He'll provide a statement, and then from there, he'll take some brief questions. Thank you.
First of all, thank you all for coming. Council members here, thank you for coming. I'm going to read from a prepared statement. I have one or two graphs I'll show up here that show kind of what we're talking about today, and like she said, I'll have a couple of questions at the end. Our actions against IV waste is not based on customer service or satisfaction, but instead it's derived from my due diligence over good governance, fiscal responsibility, and sound judgment. I first met with IV Waste's owner and leadership on July 27th, 2022, only a month after taking office, hopefully to resolve the differences between our legal team's interpretation of the city's contract with IV Waste and the company's view of the same contract. It was my sincere hope to resolve all differences of opinion, especially regarding compensation, in a diplomatic fashion. We have had as many as 10 meetings and telephone conversations since then to resolve these differences, but to no avail. While the following outcome is not what we hoped for, my primary goal upon taking office has always been to restore government efficiency and financial integrity within the City of Kenner government. To support this initiative, my administrative team has thoroughly examined and eliminated services outside of waste collection that are excessive in cost and not in the best interest of the Kenner taxpayers. We have an obligation to do the same when it comes to scrutinizing the costs associated with waste collection and recycling. After reviewing all billing statements, some of which were recently provided to the city just in the past few months, the city attorney has indicated to me that supplemental services, including recycling and oversight of the drop-off site provided by IV Waste, are at best twice as expensive as allowed by the contract and as much as 3 times higher in expense than the amount we are obligated to pay for those services on a monthly basis. The graph I'm about to display shows an upward spiraling cost of IV's fee for supplemental services. We are confident that those fees have been erroneously paid to IV Waste by the past administration versus what the city should have paid under the existing terms. What you see here, red, is the elevation of supplemental costs. The ones in the middle that go really high or associated with ITER, we understand there was a lot of damage here in Kenner, and some of the service may have went up. But you can see it remained high even after all the ITER trash was picked up. The second graph is the curbside overcharging. This is just normal garbage pickup where the CPI was added to this sooner than it should have been in the contract. It should have waited at least the first year of the contract. It went in several months after they signed in early 2020. So the numbers do not lie. The most important job we have as administrators regarding waste collection is to ensure that our citizens' garbage collection is uninterrupted and managed efficiently. I generally don't believe our residents are concerned with the name of the company that picks up their waste, but I do believe they are concerned with the quality and consistency of waste collection from a reasonable company. However, I do care significantly what taxpayers have been and are charged for the services that they should expect their government to provide. In this instance, the amount that the City of Kenner has been charged by IV Waste seems to be polluted by egregious overcharges. For this reason, the City of Kenner will exercise its right as defined within the contract to no longer utilize IV Waste for supplemental services. To ensure that Kenner residents and business owners are still provided recycling and drop-off site services, regardless of the pending litigation, we will restore the services of Romelli Janitorial on March 1st. Romelli will perform the supplemental services of recycling pickup and drop-off site oversight and management in Kenner at the price previously negotiated in their existing contract. This action alone will save the city and its taxpayers approximately $100,000 a month. And with that, if y'all have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Yes, sir.
Sidney Torres put out a statement before this press conference, basically, arguing that this is political and that you're doing this because Romelli is a political supporter of yours. How do you respond to that?
Well, apparently he doesn't know how he's been billing. It's strictly, in my opening statement, it has nothing to do with him or his company. It has to do with what he's charging the taxpayers of the city of Kenner. Look, there was a council meeting when the janitorial service or the garbage pickup was switching from Romelli to IV. And the statements made were no cost to the taxpayers of the city of Kenner. And there's over $2 million in increased charges to the taxpayers of the city of Kenner in 2 years. So it has absolutely nothing to do with any political motivation at all. Yes, ma'am.
Discussing this legal process, how difficult has the litigation been? How difficult has it been to get out of this contract, and is it worth it?
We're not trying to get out of any contract. We're just trying to control the billing of the contract that we think is excessive and over what the contract calls for. And that's it. We met with him since July of last year. Telephone, I've met with him in some meetings. My staff met with him when I wasn't there, trying to get to the bottom of coming up to some common ground of explain how you billing. And once we got all the stuff, a lot of stuff has changed, and he walked out of here, and 2 days later, we get hit with a request for declaratory judgment. So he must have went straight out of here and straight to an attorney's office. So that's kind of when we broke down and filed our suit against him. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about just some of the hardship that you covered in that last slide regarding the prices that you've been charged, City of Kenner, from IV Waste Pro, regarding just after Ida, and just how residents have had to basically, shell out more money for these services?
Well, services to the taxpayers individually remain the same because they pay a certain amount. Our general fund has to make up the difference of the overbilling. So we have been in protest, not paying the whole bill since October. October was the first time we stopped paying the entire invoice that he submits to us.
How long do you deem this legal process to be? Do you foresee you all being in the clear anytime soon when it comes to IV waste?
Well, IV waste, we'll see. I don't know what the court schedule is going to be, but we received a letter that he's stopping our services March 1st, and all of a sudden, 2 days later, oops, sends another letter. We didn't really mean that. So we had to put plans in place that if he stops picking up March 1st, we have to have some kind of plan in place to get residential garbage and recycling picked up.
And what is that plan?
Well, we have another company under contract. So I've inherited two companies that have existing contracts for the same service for the city of Kenner.
Can you tell us those companies?
That's just IV Waste and Romelli Janitorial.
Can you talk about the decision in the lawsuit, it alleges that Sidney Torres has engaged in unfair, deceptive business practices?
Well, the overcharging is the thing that jumps off the page. First, missing a holiday pickup and not rescheduling it is clearly a violation of the contract and has penalties involved.
Can you also talk about the status of the Romelli's lawsuit against the city?
It's still there, and we're trying to either get it to court or settle it out of court. So look, it's basic. We interpret a contract in the billing, and apparently he interprets it differently. And when we started looking into the invoices, it went back that there was no oversight of this contract until July 1st of 2022. All right, guys, thank you all for coming.